Starting audio.
I thought I was gonna have to.
Those are on screen. Sorry, there's nobody presently in the room. I'll keep working on that. But
Okay, we can see.
you're ready and streaming. You guys are here. I don't have anybody in the waiting room at the moment, but I'll work on the video.
We're recording.
You are live.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and just one nation under God.
Sure. As a way of respecting, honoring, and creating awareness about our past, we begin our village board meetings by acknowledging that New Paltz is on the ancestral land of the Munsee, Esopus, and Lenape people. Please join us in finding ways to support Indigenous communities. You can see the suggested links that we have on our agenda and share any more that you have that we can add so we can expand the list.
Thank you. Any announcements?
I have some announcements. You want to do the agenda first, or you want me to do the announcements first?
Go ahead, do the announcements.
Okay. So I wish I had time to walk around the village and figure out which sidewalks I think need fixing first. We would love to hear from the public about which sidewalks they think should be put at the top of the list, because we want to start fixing some sidewalks. So let us know.
I'll add to that. So what our village board is considering. So we challenging part of this is that many of the sidewalks that should be updated are not necessarily common sidewalks, whereas locally, it's local government that gets involved. Probably considered which village streets regularly used and also I was suggesting we should get some feedback from the community. But did you?
I'm louder, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just clarity, so we should suggest sidewalks that are.
Well, we could go ahead and pay for them if we like. I think the more prudent use of this. That local government uses it for local government projects as opposed to local government using local government money for state projects.
Thank you for the details. I'm also going to make a few other announcements. One is that several of our boards still need more folks to come forward to volunteer, including the ZBA. And the ZBA meets for usually about an hour on the second Tuesday of the month. And it's really important work, and we need more members. In addition to that, oh, I'm on the wrong one. That's right. I don't see it. Okay. Hudson Valley Pride Coalition will host Pride June 5th at Hasbrook Park. There's going to be a parade first coming down Main Street from the middle school, and then we're going to have festivities in the park. And to get involved, you can check out HudsonValleyPrideCoalition.org. We have some harm reduction resources. If you're using drugs, never use alone. It's 800-484-3781. And local Narcan trainings are still going on all the time. Opioid Prevention NP, as in newpaltz.org, to see what's going on there. The free food fridge is at Village Hall at 25 Plattical Oak Avenue, and it's open daily from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And for more information, you can go to the millionsofbutterflies.org/free food fridge. They also have a Facebook page, and I think they have Insta as well. That's what I've got.
Great. Any other announcements from the village board? Okay, I'm going to do the agenda. So the consent agenda. As we do each year, and 4 approve NP. Sojourner Truth Park near Water Street Market and between Water. C to Oracle for single project. 7, approve Goza Community Reconstruction Local Government Programs Contract Amendment and Change Order Request. And our department to fund. So I think what's also important to highlight is we really do this with our general fund when we have money in our general fund that did not get used. We customarily sweep it into the fire department's budget. Good practice to go above and beyond to make sure that our flush with ample fund balance. Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. All in favor?
Did you want to add
Additions to what?
Yeah, you're doing it.
Additions to the business agenda. Item 2, volunteer boards. Item 4, community choice aggregation resolution. Item 6, introductory law regarding video conferencing, public meetings. Item 7, a call for legal counsel to support the planning board and zoning board of appeals. Item 8, resolution to allow volunteers for certain boards or commissions who reside in the town to be approved. Item 9, this is to award bid for the Prospect Street water main project to the Legacy Supply Company of Valhalla, New York. Item 10 is also related to water. A letter or memo that I compose private why we would want to remove a section of the wheel. Where we would not pursue doing the water main on North Manheim during this period, but hope to include it in another grant. We hope is forthcoming. And item 11D is or is that a one? Approve the business agenda as amended. So we have the public hearing open right now on the creation of the downtown historic district and the main commission to the design review board dash historic preservation commission. I know that should be a longer dash versus a shorter dash. I think we need to back him on that. I'm just not sure. But did we get any public comments since our meeting 2 weeks ago, or is there anyone here or online interested in change?
No new comments since the last meeting.
I think what is if we did not receive additional comments, we would consider closing this public hearing at tonight's meeting, or we were going to do that on June.
We were keeping it up until the meeting of the 8th.
Okay, so then let's continue to keep it open. Any other public comments on any other topics? Okay, let's move into the business agenda. Does anyone want to comment on climate equity, justice related items? Oh, can I do it?
Sure.
I want to just thank Bill for organizing the event we had where we included several elected officials, including our county executive and state senator and former state senator and several others and fire department members and it's not a ribbon cutting, it was more of just an opportunity to highlight the green features in the building. And we got some nice press coverage. So just a public thank you for organizing that and working with your colleagues in the fire department to make sure that it's known far and wide that we're building this exciting new structure. Go ahead, are you going to add to fire department stuff?
Thank you. No, I wasn't going to add to it, but on our agenda, we have a number of water related items.
Yeah, I would highlight that. What number is it on here? Oh, it's the item 5, the letter to the DOT and the DEC asking those departments to jointly address the flooding on State Route 32, which is North Chestnut Street. Filled with water, that area comes, and we can chat more about that later. But
Number 4 also.
it's certainly climate related, troubling situation that we're doing our best to address. Okay, then I'm going to move right into item number 2. So under volunteer boards, our affordable housing board has been co-chaired by Terry Dolan and John Veralico since June of 2021. Member of the Affordable Housing Board, and Terry will continue as chair. We thank both of them. It's a steep learning curve, and it's a process that takes time. Folks apply to get on this list, and then as spots become available, the board and our clerk's office has to reach out to those individuals, and there's just a time component baked into all of this work. I lead the charge, and Nicole in our clerk's office work on making sure that those recently added affordable housing units at Zero Place are occupied, and development with additional units coming online. So with that, we're also looking for additional volunteer members on that affordable housing board. Or even just reach out and have coffee with the chairs and ask them what's involved, because maybe not exactly what you think, and it's not as daunting as you might fear, and you might see a way that you could contribute.
I should have added that people who want to join any of the boards, the ZBA, which I mentioned earlier, should do volunteers at villageofnewpaltz.org. And yeah, that is a particularly necessary board, and we're really grateful for everybody who helps us to secure affordable housing for folks who need it.
Yeah, it's also a great resume builder, for folks looking to, keep a well-rounded resume. And, a special thank you to the Affordable Housing Board. They've been working really hard to have special meetings to fill the units that we have. And Nicole has been wonderful too.
All right, so I think we probably need to make a motion to appoint John as a Affordable Housing Board member and Terry as the chair, instead of both of them co-chairs. So that's my motion. Does someone want to second it?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next item, I motion that we move this letter granting permission, OSI and consultants agreement assessment for the proposed upgrades funded by the county along the Walk Hill Valley Rail Trail. So this is the area that's from Sojourner Truth Park at the rail trail south, heading towards Gardner. Work is going to take place with OSI and consultants leading the charge, and this is basically just as the owner of the rail trail or the section that runs through the village, we've had to formally grant permission. So that's my motion. Someone want to second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Quick question.
Yep.
Does anybody think opening the windows will make it cooler in here?
It's gonna make it louder.
That's what I was worried about. It's
Make
like,
it louder.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, move
Sorry.
on.
Okay, we discussed this at a recent meeting. So we're in a frustrating situation where we entered into a supply company known as Columbia Utilities approximately 9 months ago to lock in a rate where we would buy electricity generation at 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour. We all know that energy prices have been super volatile and escalated. So we looked really smart for a minute until this ESCO is now trying to see whether they can break their contract and send us back to our utility, Central Hudson, where we have to buy the variable rate product that Central Hudson offers. So we have discussed with our attorneys and with the law firm Hudson and Russ, who will be representing Jewel. There are communications that we would sign on as a party in this to commence litigation against Columbia Utilities. And I have here letter A. I was asked to sign on as an individual plaintiff in the litigation, and I've ran that by our village attorney. And I feel personally very strongly about also joining as an individual plaintiff. So that does not require any board action whatsoever. I'm just providing that. But my motion is for our board to formally agree to this resolution authorizing the commencement.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just a question. Is this part of the other litigation going on?
Yeah, I believe that several, if not all, of the municipalities, there are 10 of them in our consortium. In Poughkeepsie, Phillipstown, Marbletown, Saugerties. Yeah, it's off the top of my head. I think there's pretty good attendance in terms of and town of reports as well, who intends to sign it on if they have not already. Did it at a public meeting via resolution.
So we're sharing the same legal.
Yeah, we're all signing on as parties along with the CCA administrator, Julie. And then with myself and maybe other individual plaintiffs. So motion to support the resolution. You seconded it already. All in favor? Next item is, so I think, I don't remember whether we discussed this at a recent meeting or we discussed this in a sidebar, but many in our community, ourselves included, have been frustrated with all of the water that ends up pooling between North Front Street and Broad Street on New York State Route 32. And our superintendent of public works thinks that it's a result of infrastructure that might no longer be right sized, or it's clogged, or it's partially deteriorated. And we have informally asked the engineers at New York State DOT whether they had any near-term fix it. They said that it was not on their near-term to-do list, but they did not see any reason why we would try to escalate this ask and encourage the directors of our regional DOT and DEC offices, whether they had thoughts and how we maybe get this in front of some of our elected officials in Albany. But I wanted to take it a step further and highlight that, this feels like an example of a situation where these regulatory bodies like transportation, environmental conservation really should be looking at these situations together, because there's an opportunity for them to work synergistically where, we have this issue where pedestrians and vehicles are put in an unsafe situation because of all this cooling stormwater. But then in addition to that, all this cooling stormwater is creating inflow and infiltration problems where we have nearby maintenance hole covered. And we already are super aware of the fact that we're under consent order by the DEC. And we've been investing millions of dollars over the last several years to improve our conveyance system. But we could benefit seriously from help if the DOT was also mindful of the fact that the DEC wants us to not allow all this polluting stormwater to inundate our wastewater treatment plant and overwhelm it, which can sometimes create situations where we do 4 times our daily volume at the sewer plant, which is troubling for a variety of reasons. And it feels like there's an opportunity for the two of them to look at this together, and that's basically the letter that I composed, where we're asking them to consider investing in repairing this stormwater conveyance, both for transportation benefit, but also for a DEC concern.
Yeah, also just to add, the damage it could cause to the road as well, as we see on Dryport, all those potholes and continuous water like that.
Yeah, responsibly managing stormwater definitely protects the longevity of our blacktop roads. So maybe we should use less of our CHIPS money on roads and more on sidewalks if we're actually trying to reach for these goals that we've set as far as climate and encouraging sustainable and walkable, and so people feel safe and comfortable to be outside of their cars. I definitely think there's a deal. Coffee conversation that could have on a variety of things. And I brought that up to the regional the regional director recently at a meeting. Kelly Torturo, who's the DEC director, who's a great person to work with, and has always been someone who's very willing to brainstorm and listen to people. Be considerate of what we were
My observation, strictly an observation, but I think that section gets worse and worse.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if it gets worse because there's more upstream development, so there's less pervious surface to absorb some of that stormwater, or maybe it's getting worse because the infrastructure has been failing and it's becoming worse. Like maybe it is collapsed in more locations, or the clog has become more significant.
Yeah, that's my
impression too.
the last time, this last incident, I was trying.
Then the DOT deserves credit for addressing that stormwater issue that we had on the south side of Chestnuts, where above that former on-ramp to Plains Road, there was a culvert that they repaired. That might even become better also when we replace some of the sewer conveyance on that street. It was explained to me recently during an infrastructure failure that the actual sewer main that runs east-west across South Chestnut is not even a sewer pipe, but it's an old stormwater pipe, which as far as moving. That will be addressed too. So, with all these capital projects, that's how we chip away at no matter how long or any of the stuff happens right away. So, did we approve this letter to be sent? All in favor?
We need to make a motion and second it.
I motioned it, and you just seconded it. All in favor? Okay. Then we have this proposed law where the village will authorize video conferencing by the Board of Trustees here. After June 8th of this year, all meetings must be held in publicly accessible locations with quorum or majority of board members in attendance at the public meeting location. Remote access will be permitted to members under special circumstances and advance notices required. So is this new, or is this just the way that we've always done things even prior to COVID? What's the difference?
Well, it's more properly how we did things prior to COVID.
So why do we need a law?
Because participating remotely there, it spells out what that reason is.
Requirements for meeting of any public body. The following requirements shall be met by any public body of the Village of Newport's members of the public body shall be physically present at any meeting of such public body unless such member is unable to be physically present at any such meeting location due to extraordinary circumstances due to disability, illness, caregiver responsibilities, any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes a member's physical attendance at such a meeting.
So do you still have to disclose where you will be if you're remote?
Yes.
And
So I don't
Yes.
understand, how is this different than the existing rule?
Corey, where does it say you have to disclose location?
The town is doing this too. We were told we needed a new law in order to do things this way.
Yes.
But I understand the question. And I'm wondering if we still have to, like, how
Here,
much
it's in
notice?
Section 5, yeah, thank you.
Identify the physical location for the meeting with the public.
I don't understand why we would do this. If it's already allowable, why would we spend money on creating a local law?
I think mostly for those 4 points.
Yeah, but I almost feel like that's kind of an invasion of privacy. I don't feel like anyone should have to disclose why they're not coming to the meeting. As long as you notice it in advance and you're noticing where you're gonna be, then that's all.
Well, the
I
state,
don't actually want to know whether someone's sick or not.
the state version from what I recall did not allow you to do that.
To do what?
There was a very, I'll have to look it up. There was a very broad section within the state law that did not ask the member who, did not ask for a requirement.
That seems better.
I see what you're saying.
Let me,
And it's a little confusing because 5 says required documents and records will be posted or available and identify the physical location for the meeting where the public can attend.
I don't see that.
Yeah, that's always been the case. So that's the funny thing, like if you're on vacation in Florida and you properly notice that you're on vacation, but you still want to participate in the meeting, it's kosher as long as you include your address. So technically, the public could show up and join you.
Right. It was,
That's always been the rule.
yes, it was my understanding because we used to do this at the town planning board where someone was in Florida for the winter.
Yeah.
And they had to be visible to the public on some kind of video thing. And we had to, I don't remember.
But I think you also have to disclose that location in case the
Correct.
public wants to join you.
Correct.
I mean, that's a funny thing.
And it has to
Who's
be
gonna actually
accessible.
come to your house?
And it has to be accessible. I only see section 5 as repeal, so what am I not seeing?
Number 5 under B,
Oh, number 5 under B. I thought you were saying section 5. Okay. If video conferencing is used to conduct the meeting, the public notice for the meeting shall inform the public that video conferencing will be used where the public can view and or participate in such a meeting where required documents and records will be posted or available and identify the physical location for the meeting where the public can attend. And we have to do 5 business days, it says in 6.
which doesn't go with illness because
Yeah, like you might be coming on that day.
Do we need to look at this some more?
it feels hard to fulfill.
Yeah. It does.
And I think it'd be like if I'm sick, but I'm not too sick, then I can just join by video.
Right.
But
Yeah, I think if someone's sick, they should probably be encouraged to get better and not do the meeting.
It's
They shouldn't feel obligated if they're actually sick.
And I know that we want to continue for accessibility issues to be available to the public the way we have been with this, people can zoom in and make comments if they can't get away from home. So do we need this law for that as well? Or we can just have that? That's part of what I thought was necessary was to continue that.
Well, the public, I mean, the public participating remotely has nothing to do with open meetings. That's easy.
Right, I just wasn't sure if that needed to be within it as well. That's part of it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'd rather research whether this is needed. From what I've understood for years, even prior to COVID, that this was always an option.
Yes, prior to COVID, I remember.
I mean, I don't know that it was necessarily done correctly anytime anyone exercised it. Like, did they disclose their location? Did they do it with the proper number of days in terms of notice? But this has been on the books for a long time.
His email says that.
To clarify, Will is the attorney for the village.
Well, let's ask Will, because I would rather not oppose a law if it feels.
So then we would have to have a quick, small emergency meeting to do this before the 8th for that.
That's right. Yeah, so
Or we could just call him on a telephone.
well, we can get that and then decide.
Plus, we are anticipating that some of us might want to not.
Do this.
I was under
And
the
Will might
impression,
explain to us.
yeah, I was under the
like,
impression
that-
we needed.
That we need this, but this feels like news to me. And Will might say, this is why you need it for some
Right,
other
and then we can
additional
do it.
reason.
Let's circle back.
I mean, you can go to like, I picked up a legislature agenda recently, and it's like, this meeting will take place at, Kingston, New York and Maryland. And it's like clearly that's how they're doing it, right? Like there was a legislator who was not there and they were in Maryland for whatever reason. So they disclosed that location. This is already done.
Right. So we'll table it for now?
I'd rather hold off and
Yep.
see what Will said.
Okay, sounds good.
So the next item is, we discussed this previously, we want to have some interviews with prospective attorneys who could be a planning board and zoning board of appeal attorney. So instead of like an RFP and RFQ, seems like what we should do is just like almost like list the opportunity. I reached out to Wade at NICOM and And a lot of it's probably just word of mouth, like, of attorneys who we would like to interview, who may be interested in this job. So that's why we put it on here, is just our intention is to ask for attorneys to submit.
And so where are we publicizing it? Are we publicizing it?
Word of mouth, and I think Wade had, isn't that right? Autumn, Wade had an idea and suggested asking other municipal, I mean, he
Yeah.
felt like the best way to do it is just to ask colleagues who are elected officials at other municipalities. Did you speak with Will about this idea this afternoon?
Yes, and he said that, however, because this is a professional service, we don't have to do an RFP, a formal RFP, that we can do this informally and, yeah, reach out to local municipalities, et cetera, or any other council that we have. Yeah.
But I think what I would add to that is, for all intents and purposes, we are doing it the same way as we would if we were following a official procurement policy. Like, we want a minimum of 3 prospective attorneys to interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to asking various attorneys to submit proposals. That just feels unnecessary. I feel like, just as we did when we hired Rick Golden, we interviewed a bunch of attorneys and we were like, oh, this is the guy we want to hire. Just like any interview process for most jobs. Okay, so the next item is a resolution to allow volunteers for certain boards or commissions who reside in town to be approved. During the 8th meeting, the majority of board members must reside in the village. So we're going to put together draft language for that resolution. It's just that straightforward. That's all we need to do.
And then do we need to have a public hearing?
What?
Do we need to have a public hearing?
No, it's just a resolution. It's not a law.
Right, I'm sorry.
If there are any boards in the village code that have a designated residency status, which the Historic Preservation Commission does, I think there's another one that
Then we
does,
had to change the law.
then we would have to change the
Oh,
law. But
That's why
for,
I said.
but
That's
for,
good to
but
know.
for any of the boards who, who don't have that
I
residency
knew I was
requirement in
remembering
the code.
something for.
That's a good catch.
For the
Then we absolutely would need a public hearing to update those.
That's what I thought I had read in the
Yeah,
email.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, so let's find out which ones we're going to codify that.
Yeah.
And I think it's like HPC and one of our tenant relations.
Landlord tenant relations, HPC, and
Could be like EPB.
I think the EPB.
Affordable housing might have it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, affordable housing.
Okay, so the next item is we need to award the water main replacement project to Legacy Book Supply LLC and Outlet, New York. We had 7 contractors bid on that project. They were the low bid. I forget the exact number. It's probably here on this sheet. It was like $623,000.
623.
Point of interest, it was 31% higher than what we estimated the project cost when our engineer. I'll say from doing this job for going on 8 years, those probably cost estimates are generally pretty accurate. So when it's 31% higher, it's very noteworthy. And then that dovetails with the point that, why don't you just bring it up now? It's kind of what you chatted about when you were.
Right, so let me just make sure I've got my notes in front of me. I wasn't ready to go there yet, but for some reason, it's not, my computer's not. At the last meeting, I had reported out about Ulster County Planning Board meeting from, I believe it's May 5th, that I attended in Bill's stead. And my notes, you know, when you take notes fast, I didn't remember exactly what went with what. So after rewatching, I think, though he did mention engineering, Dennis Doyle's comments, he was talking about cost overruns on capital projects as a whole, rather than just the engineering. So generally in the past, you could expect the general cost of construction, the year of expenditures to go up 3 to 7%. And that number has escalated to 30 to 50%. And this is causing major issues, and why all the extra money from the Fed's Infrastructure and Jobs Act is only making up the difference. And there really isn't any money for new projects. So I'm sorry for the confusion. I'm glad I got a chance to clear that up. And so
Yeah,
that aligns with what you were just saying.
Yeah, it's another valuable data point in terms of us trying to figure out how to pay for anything. And that's gonna go right into agenda item number 10. Do you guys want to comment on number 9, or do we have to? I think we have to motion to approve it.
Yeah.
Someone second my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Um,
And then so number 10 is, so we received a water infrastructure improvement act grant back in December of 2019. That project is big and complicated, includes a 12-inch mountain and a bunch of sections within the village. And then it was slowed up because of COVID. But we've got a couple of bids for pieces of the project already, including this bid for the Prospect Street section, which is 31% higher than what we expected just a couple of years ago. So what we're going to try to do to manage our cash flows and the fact that prices for materials and labor are escalating so dramatically is we're going to ask the Environmental Facilities Corp to pull out the North Mannheim section of that grant award. And then what we're going to do is we're going to keep our fingers crossed that they have another call for projects later this year for grants, and we're going to add it to the list of projects that we applied for assistance back in November. And just in the last month or two, we learned that we did not receive an award. So we still have those projects that all need to be done, and then we're going to add this Mannheim section to that list of projects. So we're just formally asking Environmental Facilities Corp that we not do the right now, because we had expected it to be a $5 million project, and the cost is now about $1.4 million greater. So it's I think it's about $6.5 million now if we don't kick out North Mannheim, whereas originally we thought it would be 5.1 million. But we have our fingers crossed that we will receive assistance from Ulster County, as they recently asked for pre-applications for water and sewer projects, because they have money from the American based on terms. We're hoping that we could receive approximately $500,000 assistance to apply towards this multi-million-dollar project that we. Because if we don't, then the ratepayers I think that's exactly what ARP money was intended for. It was intended soften the blow of these one-off projects like these desperately needed repairs. Questions? Anyone, or let's get a second to me making this request to EFC.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
The latest project that we're looking for grant assistance. This is basically just a bunch of things that we have to include in our application that will be due this July. So one of the things that Mark Lauer, who is our grant writer for these super technical community development block grants, has encouraged us to do is to do like the seeker determination beforehand and the commitment for local funds beforehand, basically have all these I's dotted and T's crossed and include them in grant applications. And this is one of the reasons why it is so expensive to run local government, because even just to pursue grants, we have to spend so much money preparing documentation. But we're in it, so we're playing by the rules. So I motion to move Item 12, budget modifications and amendments. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
I need to come back to the local law,
Which one?
the video conferencing.
Yeah.
It's required that a local public body pass a local law or
Right, that's
resolution.
right.
Why?
Such action would need to specify whether use of video conferencing will be available to the local public body itself and all of its committees or subcommittees. So this is including all of our boards
So
and
maybe
committees.
that's the difference?
Yeah, that's the difference. That's what Will highlighted on the phone, and I found it back up on a
Nice.
separate site,
Okay.
but it is required. So we have to schedule the public hearing so it can happen in time for
So
that.
let's motion to schedule the public hearing on June 8th. Good catch. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
But put a little note in the thing that's really the key difference. We probably could have done it previously as a legislative board, but for an administrative board, you need this local law. Okay.
I don't know, because the our planning board, we're doing it.
But the planning board has fairly efficient, like, it might be for things like,
Affordable
Yeah.
housing,
Yeah.
ATV,
yeah, I think the legislative boards and the administrative boards, including ZBA and planning board, are
Yeah.
probably covered.
Yeah, I had just remembered seeing things from NICOM as well as from Hudson, we needed it. And I know that the town needed it, I just didn't know the why.
That makes some sense.
Yeah, on April 14th, you'll send us an email that had both the NICOM and the as well.
Should we also go ahead and, since we, oh no, I'm sorry. I was jumping ahead to June 8th because we anticipate closing the public hearing. So then on that June 8th agenda, we should pencil in consideration of adopting that law after having held a public hearing. You want to do PD liaison update?
Sure, that last week, excuse me, this 2-hour meeting or so, highlights include the variances for 16 Prospect Street for a private yoga studio have been approved. Hotel that's being considered at 184 Main Street, the former site of Moxie Cupcake. That's still under review. There was an interesting proposal for a cannabis dispensary at the Net Zero building. Labeled to do it. Proposal made to Net Zero partners about that. We would be on the ground floor, taking up, I think, about 70% of the space on the ground floor.
Do we know who the owners would be?
Well, only that is a large cannabis corporation. Proposed subdivision of the corner Prospect and Henry W. for 2 housing developments. Point I made.
2?
Yeah.
I thought it was 4 units or 4 single-family homes.
So, is it 4 single?
Yeah, four total, two
Okay.
accessing on Prospect and
Right.
2 with
Oh.
access on Henry W.
And it's the access point on Henry W. That may or may not fit well with the Park State Trail limits. Having a driveway into a bike area.
I can't envision it. There's some space there.
Yeah, there's a corner lot there that's all wooded right now.
Oh.
Up there.
Okay,
It's the same
got it.
developer, same.
They're
I'm surprised at the 4.
Yeah, Floyd Niffen built
Yeah,
those.
of course.
Yeah.
There
So
were,
Floyd would build the new ones?
Yes.
there were a lot of rumblings at Briarwood that since that construction, there's so much more flooding down that way.
Yeah. One of the neighbors, the new neighbors, was very concerned that he said that should he consult with his. I know that stretch very well. Go down the line and help to help sanitize the roadway. So it's not a simple.
But we're gonna keep getting those grant awards that we apply for in July. Keep fixing that sewer infrastructure. There's less infiltration from there.
That's about it from the planning board.
About something.
Well, maybe the hotel
Which hotel?
on 184 Main.
The old Jack in the Box?
Moxie?
Moxie.
Moxie, yeah.
Was
Peak
it
performance runner.
All of us have been here as long as we
What
was it related to Banquet's proposal?
proposal?
No, I'm trying to pull out of you what the question might have been.
Oh, I don't know. Any ZBA liaison update?
The ZBA has not met. I just got around to calling Corey today about 123 Main and how we're gonna be made whole, but he hasn't gotten back to me yet, so I'll report out next time.
Oh, okay, the trees that are.
All the pre-planning that happens there, I know that they are currently negotiating things, so I want to find out what's going on.
Great. Anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ah,